You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the show. It's so great to have you here with me today. Can't wait to get started with our Wellness and Weight Loss Wednesday show, where we're going to be talking about the 8 ways to boost adiponectin. This is one of the most important fat-burning hormones in the body. Remember, when we talk about body transformation, when we talk about losing weight, we are always doing so from a long-term perspective that will help you get the results, but we also want you to be able to keep them. There are so many diets out there right now. There are so many fads out there right now that actually hurt your metabolism from the long run. Keep in mind, when someone is not able to lose weight, or they're not able to get in great shape, or they're not able to get rid of some of that belly fat, always understand that this is a metabolic issue, that this is almost always a hormone signaling based issue. So why is this important? Because it does not always have to do with reducing calories or starving yourself or, always doing very long fasts. What we need to tell the body is that it is in control, that it is in a safe space, that we are able to shed the weight due to a lack of stress on the body. So on the show here today, I'm going to actually give you 8 ways to boost this fat-burning hormone. And no, it's not just by de-stressing the body. We're actually not going to go into that today. I've talked about that on other shows. These are direct things that you can do in order to secrete more of this fat-burning hormone that your body naturally produces. And here's the strange thing about it. It's actually your fat cells, your adipose tissue. So adipose tissue is just simply another name for our fat cells or our fat. And our fat cells secrete this hormone to burn fat, but also essentially telling the body how to use energy. So should the body burn more glucose or should it burn more body fat? And the interesting thing is this, although it's our fat cells that produce this adiponectin or signal it, people that are obese often produce less of this protein, which is really interesting, right? Because this is why I tell people that you can eat the same amount of calories as someone else, but if your metabolism is not working well and it's not balanced, you will not be able to burn the same level of body fat, which means you can't eat the same amount of calories and you actually have to work harder because your body is not necessarily working with you. It seems to be working against you. Now, your body would love to work with you, would love to tap into more body fat, but there might be a few reasons why it's not doing so. So I want to go through those with you today. If your goal is not necessarily to burn body fat, understand that most likely, at least a handful of people in your life need this information. The other part is this, that adiponectin signaling, let me just spell that for you. It's Adiponectin if you want to look it up, but I'll give you all of the show notes links as well. If you head on over to stephencabral.com/1286 for today's show. So stephencabral.com/1286. I'll link everything up over there. But if your body's not producing enough adiponectin, it can actually cause unchecked inflammation as well. So then inflammation can lead to a host of issues, some of them being cancer or coronary heart disease or increased levels of lipids, namely LDL cholesterol or oxidized cholesterol. So where I want to focus some of our time here today, though, is that adiponectin helps with insulin sensitivity. And insulin itself is looked at as a hormone in the body. And if insulin is not sensitized in the body, what it means is that it can't get glucose out of the bloodstream. Why is this important? Because one of the best ways to lose weight and really slow the aging process is not to have high blood sugar. If we have high blood sugar, we're going to create more advanced glycation end products, ages. We're going to have more oxidation of the skin. So we're going to start to see more lipid peroxidase. We're going to see more of those brown spots on the skin. We're going to see more wrinkling of the skin. We're going to see more damage to the body because sugar in the bloodstream at a higher level can begin to oxidize. Now, we always need sugar in our bloodstream. We actually can't live without it. So for people that are always saying, we can't have any glucose, we can't have any of this, that's actually not true. Your body, no matter what, will make glucose, no matter what, to keep it in your bloodstream. If your blood sugar drops too low, you drop into a coma. If it goes too high, obviously we get all of these issues related to inflammation, oxidation, and stress on the body. So what I want to go through right now, a lot of this is based on balancing blood sugar, and it's based on being able to signal more of this protein. And it's a very interesting protein. I mean, it really is. It is a 247 amino acid long polypeptide. That's what it's called. And it has various functions in the body, but it's known as our predominant fat-burning hormone. And what they found, and this is very, very interesting to me at least, when you're able to produce enough adiponectin and enough leptin, you can essentially get rid of, this was found in mice, you're able to get rid of type 2 diabetes. So I look at this because I'm always looking at wellness and I'm always looking at anti-aging. It's like, you can't have one without the other, right? People, I want to work on anti-aging. Okay, well, you have to be well first, right? If you want to do all the fun things, all the fine tuning and tweaking, first you need to be well. I mean, you really do. If you have an autoimmune based issue, let's not worry about anti-aging based practices quite yet. If you get yourself well, you're automatically working on anti-aging. So let's just get rid of the autoimmune issues first. Let's get rid of the chronic inflammation. And then, of course, you're going to work automatically on anti-aging, and then we can do the fine tuning, some of which we're going to talk about today. So let's dive right into it. 8 ways to boost your adiponectin levels, which means to boost fat burning and to also decrease and regulate inflammation and energy, right? Because when we're talking about mitochondria, what are we talking about? Well, we're talking about how do they use energy, oxygen, glucose, and also our body tapping into lipolysis or fat burning. The first one we want to look at is actually keeping our blood sugar levels stable, okay? So we know we want to work on insulin resistance, but one of the best ways to work on overcoming insulin resistance, which means getting the body more sensitized to this hormone insulin that's produced by the pancreas that helps us shuttle sugar in the bloodstream into the cells to use as energy. If not, it will be stored as body fat, is we simply want to keep our blood sugar better under control. How do we do that? Well, one big way is sleep. I've mentioned this before, but I've kind of never dedicated its own podcast to it. But if you are not getting proper sleep, restful sleep, staying in bed for 7 to 9 hours a night, and I kind of gave you on a previous podcast how much each person needs, well, you're going to wake up most likely with higher levels of blood sugar. If you're already starting your day with higher levels of blood sugar, it's tough to recover from that. Meaning if you're more stressed and you have poor sleep, higher blood sugar. And now you're already behind the game when it comes to producing more adiponectin. So what I want you to do is focus on getting that sleep, focus on getting to bed a little bit earlier, kind of working that bedtime back 15 minutes until you get to more appropriate bedtime. You can tune back again for previous podcasts on that. That's a big one. The other thing is this, and it's playing in number 2. So I'm just going to dive into number 2 here for the second of 8 ways. You need more fiber at each meal. That's essentially the bottom line. You need more fiber at each meal. Now, where does fiber come from? Well, not from protein and not from fat. So this is why if your diet's super high in protein or super high in fat, again, a lot of people don't know this, and that's because the people that they're listening to are only telling you one side of the story. I try to present each side of the story, and I try to stay as unbiased as possible. If you were to sit down to a big, massive steak meal or steak dinner, or whatever you want to call it, you actually can spike blood sugar, even though that meal itself, that big steak, contains no specific carbohydrates. What's happening? Well, there's a higher glycemic load to that meal, as well as the meat itself. The process of digestion can actually spike blood glucose levels. Interesting. Now, again, I'm not saying that you can't necessarily eat any meat or anything like that. What I'm telling you is this, is that no matter what, just make sure, at least for a longer period of time, you are not completely devoid of fiber. How much fiber per day? Really, shoot for between 30 and 40 grams per day. Some people can do more. most people can't get away with less, not for long-term overall health. So if you're talking about the health of your gut, well, the bacteria need fiber. And I did a whole podcast on different types of fiber, insoluble fiber, and soluble fiber, and a combination of the two, and resistant fiber. So go back and check that out at stephencabral.com/podcast. But today what I want to do is keep it simple. Today's podcast is on adiponectin. So what are we doing? Well, we're focused on that one topic and making sure that you get about 35 grams of fiber per day. If you're eating 2 meals a day, that's almost impossible, right? I have a podcast coming up on why 2 meals per day is probably not enough. You'd have to eat, 18 grams of fiber at each meal. That's a good amount of fiber. That might be a little too difficult to digest. I think most people do well with somewhere between 8 and 12 grams of fiber, 8 to 15 grams maybe per meal. Well, you can do that then in 3 meals per day, 4 meals if you decide to. Again, it depends on the person and depends on how many meals per day that person needs. Now, if you're looking to burn body fat, I don't really recommend more than 3 meals per day because I want you with more time per meal. And you can go back and there was a show on that called Making the Move or Why 3 Meals Per Day. And you can check out that show. Again, if you ever have any questions, head on over to cabralsupportgroup.com. Ask your question right there. We'll help you find the podcast, whatever the help that it is that you need. That's a completely free Facebook group. So more fiber, how do we get that? Well, the studies show this. Fruit, namely berries or high fiber-based fruit. Lots of vegetables, right? Vegetables are going to be predominantly low-calorie, high nutrient-dense foods with lots of fiber. It works great for keeping you satiated and also getting the fiber that you need to control blood sugar at each meal. Okay, starches and grains have actually been proven to also help. Now, we have to be careful here because we don't want processed grains. We don't want a lot of processed starches. So the best place to start is with sweet potatoes, yams, yucca, parsnips, good quality root-based vegetables that have the carbohydrates and the fiber and a lot of nutrients to help keep you full. If that works for you, then you can experiment with some oats and you can experiment with some wild rice and other types of grains as well. And you'll see if that works for your body or not. Remember, anybody that doesn't do well with carbohydrates, it's almost always, as in always, a gut-based issue. So you need to look at what type of imbalance do you have in your gut where when you eat these foods, they cause bloating or gas or autoimmune-based issues. Remember, it goes back to the gut. So check that out. And again, I did a previous show on that as well. All right, number 3 is this. Monounsaturated fats. Monounsaturated fats help boost adiponectin levels. If you've heard from me before, if you heard me on the show, one of the things that I talk about with anti-aging, longevity, overall wellness is monounsaturated fats. We can come up with studies of why we don't like polyunsaturated fats and why we do like them. We can come up with studies of why we like saturated fats and why we don't like them. But it's hard to come up with a study, it really is, on why monounsaturated fats could be a downside, like how they could have a downside. And that's why I say I keep nutrition simple. I mean, I study the complex nutritional biochemistry. I love that. It's part of my background. But what I do is I try to share with you what actually makes sense and what's going to make sense for the greatest majority of people. Monounsaturated fats, I mean, that is it. And when you look at the longest lived people and you look at the Mediterranean diet, you're looking at a combination of monounsaturated fats with some polyunsaturated fats that have not been oxidized. Okay, so let's get into that right now. Monounsaturated fats, avocado, one of my favorites. Olive oil or olives, one of my favorites, right? Those are huge. Those are just so good for you. And there are others, and again, I can go back and we can list those, but you can do a search on that too, right? I know that you can do that, and that's why I want to get you started on these shows, right? The Cabral concept is all about, listen, we need to get one topic per day that you can really open your mind to, and then if it speaks to you, begin to dive deeper on it. And I'm going to give you that. I mean, like lay them right out for you. So monounsaturated fats, simplest way to do it is this. 2 tablespoons to maybe 3. I think 2 is the proper amount for most people. If you're thinner, you could do a little bit more, is olive oil. 2 tablespoons. Why don't you do that with lunch or so? And then for dinner, you could do half of an avocado. And that would be great. So then you get your monounsaturated fats at both meals. You can also do macadamia nuts, right? Because those are nice and high in monounsaturated fats. Maybe you take a handful of macadamia nut, or let's just say 1 or 2 tablespoons, and you throw those right in your smoothie in the morning and you blend them up. You could do that as well. There are many different ways. This is just a simple example. I'm going to get to omega-3s in a moment. Those are more of a polyunsaturated, and I'll show you how I recommend them as well. So the fourth one is this: 30 minutes of exercise. 30 minutes of exercise, that's it. Only 30 minutes of exercise, at least every other day, or more days than not. 4 to 5 days per week, 30 minutes of exercise. You can do that. You really can. I know that you can. You can build it into your day, 150 minutes per week. That's 30 minutes times 5. I'm telling you, if you do that, you boost your adiponectin levels. You're going to boost those longevity genes. You're going to increase telomere length, and you're going to be feeling better too. You're going to boost those energy levels. Now, in the beginning, should you start with 30 minutes if you're doing 0? No. Why not do 5 minutes or 10 minutes? You might say, well, 5 minutes is nothing. Sure, it's nothing compared to 30 minutes or 40 minutes, but it's a whole lot more than 0, right? So 5 minutes, do those body weight exercises I talk about in the morning, get that blood flowing. That's a great start. Then work up to your 10,000 steps. Then get that body moving at a higher level. Do those metabolic resistance training programs. If you do that, studies show that you can boost adiponectin levels for 24 to 72 hours, which is why it's not just about burning calories during a workout. Super important. A lot of people saying, oh, you should be doing this workout and this workout because it burns the most calories. That's almost never the right thing to do. You want to do things that's going to boost your metabolism, that are going to balance your hormones. Remember, weight loss is about balancing hormones. If it wasn't, there'd be a reason why one person can eat 3,000 calories a day and not gain any weight, and another person eats 3,000 calories a day and they gain 2 pounds a week, right? It's not just about the calories, it's about the metabolism, which is governed by hormones and certain proteins and enzymes in the body. Super important to distinguish between the two. All right, number 5 is this. And again, I'm always coming to you from an unbiased perspective, but a cup or two of coffee before noon every day can help to boost adiponectin levels. Now, there's always a caveat to that. Caffeine is not good for all people because what caffeine does is also spike stress hormones in the body. So it's best for those people that have more of the kapha-based body type, more of the endomorph, that might be a little lower in the dopamine production, which is kind of like that focus, that get up and go, that rah, 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 like I'm going to conquer the world. A little bit less of that, a little slower to get going. And they are maybe more prone to the weight gain. But you can't put the cream and you can't put the sugar in the coffee. Drink it black or drink it with a little bit of nut milk, right? We don't want to go overboard with what we're bringing into the bloodstream. Could you do a little bit of a healthy fat? I'm not against that, but we can't mix the sugar with the fat. We can't do that, okay? That's a little caveat to that. And then go easy. I'm not saying to overdo that coffee. Absolutely not. But I am saying there's antioxidants, there's benefit. There's benefit to it. So I can't deny that. And I won't deny it because my job is, even if I'm saying, yeah, most people shouldn't be doing a lot of caffeine. And I do believe that for other hormonal reasons, right? Because if you overstress your HPA axis, we call it adrenal-based stress. Well, what does it do? Well, it can actually put belly fat around your belly because you spike cortisol levels. And when you spike cortisol, well, you're actually going to spike most likely the hormones that will pull sugar into the blood, which is essentially a process of gluconeogenesis, or the body's ability to open up the stores of stored glycogen, right? So it takes the liver glycogen and it brings it into your bloodstream because it thinks it's in fight or flight. So we have to be careful. We have to be careful with all these things, but I did want to bring you that specific note, and it may work for you or it may not. Honestly, the best thing to do is you simply test your thyroid adrenal hormone levels. And that's a topic for another day. But if you test your thyroid adrenal hormone levels, and I will link up that at stephencabral.com/1286 today, you'll actually know what your cortisol levels are in the morning. You can do it with coffee or without coffee, so you'll know if you're getting that spike, and you'll see what your thyroid levels are too. Number 6 is this. Believe it or not, some carbohydrates at dinner signal the next day adiponectin release, not that day, but it signals the next day of release of more fat-burning hormone. We don't know exactly why yet, and that's the honest truth with a lot of the studies and a lot of research. You can test adiponectin. You can actually have your doctor run your adiponectin levels if you want. But what happens is this. We don't always know all the specific receptors. So, for example, we know 3 main receptors right now. Like 2 main receptors have been identified called G protein coupled receptors, right? So we know about how they work. Adipo R1, Adipo R2, and we're looking at one more, which is being looked at right now, CDH13. You don't need to know what any of that means, but we're kind of looking at like, how does adiponectin in the body really work? We have an understanding, but we don't have a major understanding. We do know when elevated levels, or when levels are a little higher, we burn more body fat. Typically have good energy, typically have lower levels of inflammation, less chance for type 2 diabetes, certain types of cancer, etc. So it's a good thing, but again, we don't know how everything works in the body. We're looking at complex hormones, and in this case, proteins. So interesting thing is this, because we can extrapolate why we believe this happens. When we do eat carbohydrates, it helps us sleep better. When we eat carbohydrates, it produces more serotonin. When we produce more serotonin, we produce more melatonin. When we produce more melatonin, we're in a deeper level of sleep. When we're in a deeper level of sleep, we tend to burn more body fat for fuel because we're in a more relaxed state. And the relaxed state keeps our heart rate a little bit lower, keeps our blood sugar from spiking, and that helps tremendously. Now, the next day, we wake up in a better mood. Cortisol levels are probably more stable. We don't overeat. We don't have massive cravings the next day because serotonin helps with cravings, right? So these are all ways that we can look at it. And that's why I don't think you should go overboard with carbohydrates and any specific meal if you're looking to lose weight. But the total deprivation of carbohydrates for beyond 21 to 28 days is not a good long-term plan. So I hope that helps. All right, number 7 is this. Supplements. Which supplements work best to boost adiponectin? Now, there may be more, but we know these ones for sure. 2 to 3 grams a day of a good quality omega-3, namely one with a little bit more EPA, which helps balance those hormones and stress hormones as well, but you still need DHA, and I did talk about that. I believe it was just yesterday. Let me see if that was yesterday's show. Yes, it is. Check out StephenCabral.com/1285 to learn about all the myths and all the misnomers and how to use omega-3s properly. Okay, 2 to 3 grams a day of omega-3, 50 milligrams total a day of zinc. That's actually right around the limit that I would do for ongoing use. It's super simple. It's about what I get. I don't do it the full 50 during the warm summer months in Boston, but I use it from late October all the way through May. And I do that simply with my daily nutritional support shake, and I do it with a balanced zinc every day. So that's going to get me 30 milligrams, and then I take additional supplements as well that have between 5 and 15 milligrams of zinc in there too. I'm a huge advocate. It's absolutely incredible for the hair, the skin, the nails, for your overall anabolic-based pathways that help your body restore and rejuvenate itself. So we know that for sure. Zinc picolinate is a great form if you are looking at your favorite brand. And then we have additional research reviewing resveratrol right now, the active ingredient, right? That ingredient in red wine, although you probably wouldn't be able to drink enough red wine, and nor would you want to, because that would spike blood sugar levels and then drop them the next morning. To get that, we're looking at grapefruit seed as another form of a very powerful form of resveratrol as an antioxidant too. And then turmeric. So I'm excited for the future of these products. Of course, right now you can get resveratrol, you can get turmeric in the form of curcumin, you can get it in the form of curcumin phytosome, and you can get it with a bound to a phospholipid. And I love this field. I mean, I really do. And I like being at kind of the forefront of what's happening, because I know in time we're going to get these extracts and we're going to be able to bind them better. We're going to be able to get them assimilated. That's the issue right now, is like we have to take higher dosages. And the reason is that they're poorly absorbed. But in the future, we're going to be able to get them better absorbed, better infused into the body. And that's going to help tremendously using natural food extracts as a way to not only boost adiponectin, but actually boost mitochondrial energy, which is going to help with anti-aging. So love this. Listen for more coming up on resveratrol in the future and turmeric on this show. For right now, I can assure you omega-3s, zinc are a great way to do it too. And the last one is this. Strategic fasting and lower calorie days. So how do we use this? Well, we use it with our every 12 weeks, we do a functional medicine detox as a community. We'll do one coming up in September. We do one in January. We do one end of March, beginning of April. And then we do one in July. And so every 12 weeks, like they talked about in Ayurvedic medicine, every form of Eastern-based medicine, where we get the body to get rid of the old and begin to rejuvenate for the new. That's what it's all about. And again, a lot of shows on that. Strategic fasting would be 12 hours to maybe a little bit longer each night, one day a week, potentially of a 24-hour fast. And then we do the longer fast every 12 weeks, 2 days to 3 days or so of very low calorie, or no calorie, just allowing the body to start to burn its own toxins, essentially. It's necrotic tissue and its fuel, and use a process called autophagy to clean house. I call it cleaning house. Get rid of the old, burn it all up like a furnace, right? You're running low on fuel. What do you need to do? Get rid of all the trash, use it as fuel, and then start to restore the new. It's a beautiful way to look at natural medicine, that the body knows how to heal. It knows how to really rejuvenate itself if give it the fuel that it needs, right? And that you kind of stay out of its way. And that's the big thing, is that we have to look at the overall de-stress protocol that I talk about in the rain barrel effect. We need to look at diet and exercise and stress reduction and toxin removal and the parasympathetic nervous system with rest, emotional balance, supplementation, and success mindset. Now, you never want to rely on just one. Like, you don't want to just rely on your supplements. You don't want to say, oh, I'm going to do my omega-3s, I'm going to do my zinc, I'm going to do my, whatever it might be. Yeah, they're all great. They are great. But you also want to look at the overall lifestyle. Balancing blood sugar, getting enough sleep, getting enough fiber, all of that matters. Now, some of these things might seem simple, and some of them are. But we have to do them, and we need to do them on a consistent basis, and not just for a week. We need to do them for weeks. 12 to 16 weeks resets your body at a cellular level. If you do that, I'm telling you right now, it will change your life and it will change your body. Take care, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me on another Cabral Concept. I appreciate you. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for our Training Thursday edition of the show. Take care, everyone. Have an amazing day. Are you ready to heal yourself and then go on to heal others? If so, the Integrative Health Practitioner Institute can help you discover proven functional medicine protocols that blend the best of 7 different healing disciplines from around the world. I personally share with you the exact handouts and protocols I use in my private practice that enable people to get well, lose the weight, and live longer, stronger. I want to pass this information on to the next generation of health coaches, and that is exactly why I created IHP. We are the future of the health coaching industry, and the skills and knowledge you will learn will make you an in-demand certified health coach anywhere in the world. Although we have many medical professionals taking the IHP certifications, no experience is necessary, and half our members have no previous health certifications. At the Integrative Health Practitioner Institute, our motto is a health coach in every home. Our goal is that you take this knowledge and then share it with family, friends, loved ones, your community, or in a practice where you create a career you love and can be proud of. The global IHP community is filled with some of the most kind and caring people in the world, and we can't wait to welcome you into our world soon. For more information or to set up a discovery call with one of our IHP Health Coach graduates, simply head over to integrativehealthpractitioner.org.